to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, I am joined by Enrique Crespo, an art enthusiast, interior designer, and founder of Crespo Design Group, a luxury design firm with offices in both Tampa, Florida, and Los Angeles, California. Enrique and his team not only deliver stunning designs, but they offer also a world-class level of service that firmly puts them in the luxury realm. Because, of course, we know luxury isn't just about the price tag. It's about effective communication, impeccable administration, and end-to-end execution of the project. It is big ideas and minute details. And apparently, it's about pillow menus. But we'll get to that later. Enrique knows that this is a creative industry, and he thinks and feels that that might put us at a disadvantage and not necessarily have what he calls a type A personality. And so today, he's here to challenge us to think about how we have to adopt a type A mindset in order for our businesses to thrive. So what is a type A mindset according to Enrique? Well, we actually talk about it here all the time. We just use different words. We use organization. We use process and system. We say it's an ability to see the big picture, but focus on the tiny details. And it isn't easy. But taking this approach will always allow us to use our creativity in many dynamic ways. So I'm very excited to introduce you to Enrique, who's going to tell all of us more about his approach from his perspective. Hi, Enrique. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Hey, LuAnn. Thanks so much for having me.
I am really excited about this conversation, Enrique, because I was reading the intake form that you gave me, and you said that, it's a creative business, interior design, but I think you have to approach it from a type A personality. And I thought, wonder what the heck that means. And we just had a little chat and you shared it with me. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to be good friends in a minute. So now please share it with our colleagues. Enrique, what do you mean when you say that you encourage your designer colleagues and you run your business yourself through this type A lens?
I have a few different reasons why I feel this way, LuAnn. It's a creative business and creativity happens in the gray areas. However, finances happen in black and white, and you need to know how to manage your finances to run a successful business. We're also a luxury service. And when you're providing a luxury service, people are expecting a certain level of service and professionalism that you can only give if you are very organized and very on point. And that's hard to be like that if you're not doing things in a sort of type A way.
Exactly, right? So this is the thing. On this podcast, we talk all the time about having your back end organized, having your operational systems to the point where your process and your systems are set up so that they can be duplicated so that you can deliver on the promise of the luxury experience. Because if you don't have them set up in a process and system, Enrique, how can you do it again over and over, right?
That's correct.
And to your point, it's funny because share with me your experience with meeting colleagues in either area. You do business in both Tampa and Los Angeles, but I find that when the designer is at the point where I call it their chops, their design chops are at the point where the design is really getting elevated and it's different, right? We know the difference when you're starting to really put together something that is, beyond just well put together, but starting to be really elevated. What happens is I have found a lot of times the growing pains there is like what's funny is John McClane was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and John McClane, of course, I don't know if you know John, but like definitely top of his game, beautiful, has a beautiful coffee table book. He has multiple locations for his business as well. And he was very transparent and told us the story of the one client that really knocked him down. And the thing is, this was a very, very high-end luxury client. It basically had his black Amex or whatever the color the darn Amex is that has everything. I clearly don't have one, right? But was just charge whatever you want. And 6 months later, with hundreds of thousands of on it, the client blew up. And what John said to us essentially was, I did not have a finite process in place. And even though I had the luxury client, my business wasn't up to that standard on the back end yet. And I feel like that's what you're talking about. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so did you learn it by the School of Hard Knocks also, or did you just know from the beginning?
Yes, of course. I did learn it from the School of Hard Knocks. You know, I
We
I
do,
I
right?
yeah, I wish I would have, I only interned for someone out of college for about 6 months, and I wish I would have worked for a firm for a few years, because then I probably would have had an easier road to where I've gotten.
Okay, so talk about that for a moment because that's a real thing, right? Really learning not only the design on somebody else's dollar, but learning how projects are run and learning the nuances of client interaction, with mentors around you, right?
Yes, it's not easy. A lot of people think, "Oh, well, I'm just going to go start an interior design business." Well, no, it's a luxury business, so you have to have your processes in place, right? And when you're dealing with people's money and their homes, it gets really personal.
That's it. It's you know what? No one's ever said that sentence in just that way before. We're dealing with their money and their homes. I mean, what the only other thing is if you were in charge of their kids too. I mean, how else could you be involved in two things that are as important to somebody, right? Except for those two things and maybe their kids, right?
It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they love their car, but not like their home. And they love their salad, but not like their money. Right? Okay. So talk to me a little bit about it. Where do you want to go? Do you want to talk about a learning lesson where you had, and because you were out on your own in the beginning, do you want to flip right to your seasoned and maybe some things that you could share with colleagues that are managing larger teams like you are? What's your preference right now, Enrique?
Well, how about a little bit of both and how I
Okay.
got there? Does that
Okay.
sound, yeah?
I love it.
Okay. So, I started out and I thought, okay, well, this is great. I have a lot of connections. My family's established. This is going to be easy. I got out of college and I had some great accounts, but I wasn't organized, and that causes a problem.
Mm.
And down the road, I decided I really need to put processes in place, because you start growing, you start hiring designers, you start hiring other people, and it's like, oh, did you check on this? No, did you check on that? I thought you ordered this. No, I thought you ordered that. Well, no, it doesn't work like that, because at any time you can have 300 items on order, and you need to know where all of them are and have they come in and is there damage on them, right?
Exactly. And if you didn't do it, who did it? Like the plant in
Right.
the corner? Like, I don't get it.
So the business has a lot of moving parts, and you need to organize them, and putting those processes in place, and the juniors knowing exactly what the responsibilities are. Then there's no question that the office manager didn't do it, because
Right.
they're responsible for it.
Right, exactly. So you had the experience like many of us have of missing deadlines, forgetting to order things, not knowing things are broken before you get to the install, and you have your come to Jesus moment and you're like, that's it. We're getting this place organized.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And so what was that like? Was that, you digging in? A lot of us will make the first one or two hires and then ask them to put together their process and systems and document it, and then we review and tweak. Like, how did you go about it, Enrique?
Well, I started hiring people, and then I realized that there was a lot of who's on first, right?
Mm.
And then I started researching, and I hired someone that specializes in interior design processes. And I
Mm.
flew her in, and she came in and sort of restructured everything, and that gave me the basis for me to take it and tailor it to my needs.
I love it. You invested in yourself. That's exactly what you did. You said, I have a business and I'm going to make an investment, and somebody else there has invented the wheel. Why do I have to do it? Right?
Exactly.
Okay. What a novel idea, Enrique. I love it. I love it. So now, though, and what I also know, though, is it's one thing to have somebody come in and organize us and help us create our process and system, but we have to execute it. We have to execute on them every day. And every time you onboard new people, you've got your cowboys. God help me. I've had the employees that, I teach them the way I want to do something. And then 3 weeks later, I'm like, this isn't right. What's going on? Oh, no, I found a better way to do it. Really, sweetie? That's so cute. That's when you run your own business. You do it that way, my love. My business, we do it this way. So it's tough, though, right? It's like an ongoing thing. Talk to me about managing people and trying to keep them all in your process.
It is, and managing personality and managing creatives can be
Yeah,
very
yeah.
challenging.
Right, because they wanted to figure out a new way to do it. That's exactly what I run into.
And
Right?
what I've tried to do, I heard someone speak one time. It was Barclay Butera. Is it Barclay?
Oh.
Yeah. And he said, we have different designers that fit different um, personalities. So,
Mhm.
for Persians, we have a Persian designer. For Hispanics, we have a Hispanic designer. So, and then I thought, that's brilliant. So I
Mm.
started looking for different designers to come work for me, and I found some senior designers. One's super type A, so I always put her with people that are a little extra type A, and then I put the other one with the people that are a little more creative and that are open to that process, right?
Mm.
Because there's a perfect fit for everyone.
Mhm. I love that. So when you operate your firm, is your firm operated, do you do you have the say on the projects that get green lighted for your firm, and do you meet with each client, and are you involved throughout it, or are you only involved in touch points, or do you actually assign full projects to design teams within your business, and you might not have anything to do with the design? Well, how do you set your firm up?
I meet all the clients. We do have minimum spends to take on projects. And then if they're and then you have to meet them because this is really like dating. You're
Mhm.
in someone's house, and with all these delays from COVID, you used to get in and out in 12 weeks. Well, now you're married to these people for a year. So you really got to make sure you like them, right?
So you're meeting all the clients and selecting who gets green lighted.
Yes. And
Okay.
then we come up with we get from them what their aesthetic is. And the designers that I have, some work better in different aesthetics. So then I assign that to the senior. And then the senior designs it, and then I approve, reject throughout the process, and then we present together. And then once the client signs off on it, I let the senior manage it till the end, and I just check in and out.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so I'm just going to review it. So you're you're saying yes or no who gets in the firm and who's going to be accepted as a client. Then based on the interactions and the questions and the conversations, the client's aesthetic and the client's personality, you're selecting which of your seniors is going to be best utilized on that project, most effective in the communication and the style with the client. And then the senior does the design, but you're meeting on a whatever interval basis for yes, no, love it, hate it. And then presentations you're there for. And then once the design is signed off on and we go to actually making all the magic happen, then the senior owns and is accountable for the process.
That's exactly how it
Okay.
works.
And then you're moving on to, rainmaking and trying to bring in the next client that's going to come along. But hopefully by the time they get that other client through a certain process, you're coming back to the design process with that original senior again.
Yes.
Okay. So that's interesting. I like that. And then where are your clients coming from at this point, Enrique? Well established. Is it word of mouth? Is it referral? Is it presence in these two fabulous communities, Tampa and Los Angeles? Is it Instagram? Is it your network of connections and, events maybe that you go to and belong to? Where are you rainmaking?
LuAnn, it's all of the above. It really is.
Move your butt, man, right?
Yeah, I have a PR team. I have someone that does my social media. I have someone that does my SEO. I advertise. I'm on numerous boards for different organizations. I'm highly social. And that's how you have to put yourself out there to get business. And I don't think that there's just one way to do it.
I love that you just said it. Run through it again. You have a PR team. You invest in SEO.
Yes, I have a PR team. I invest in SEO. I invest in someone that does my social media. I advertise in print, and then I'm on multiple boards throughout the community. And you have to put yourself out there. You have to do all of this to bring in the right clients.
I love it. I love it. Because I have to say, I think sometimes when you look at a firm like yours that is well established and has this tremendous portfolio and has a very deep team, 7-8 people on your team, you think that the phone just rings and that the principal just is like lunching and approving and disapproving lighting that their designer picked and having a great life. But you're out there pounding the pavement, and you're also, to have a PR team or to do SEO or to do print or a social media team, that isn't like just because there's a team that you're not there. Like those are the things that take the CEO's time, right? That's your CEO work, is interacting with the PR team and approving, all the different things that go on into it, right? That's like, while your designers are designing, that's the work you're doing, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is, and my PR team presents me with what's going to happen for the next month. We brainstorm for different ways to bring in new clientele and to reach new groups that I haven't reached as
Right.
well.
Right. So, okay. So talk to me about, like you mentioned in your conversation on your intake form, you talked about how to save your clients from becoming, their own worst enemy.
Oh.
Like, I'm curious your philosophy on that.
Well, a lot of times clients think that they know best, or that someone will come to you and they say, I found this great design and this is what I want to do. And I found this chair here and I found this chair over there, and let's do this and let's do that. And it's like, well, why did you hire me? Your house is going to be a mess. That's not going to look good. But at the same time, I'm really diplomatic. So I don't come across just like that and say,
Right?
say it like that, right?
So this still happens at the luxury level, though. You see, that's what I'm hearing, right? Because most of us think, oh, once you get to the luxury level, your clients listen to you. And I do think that there is that culture that, I think what it is it's not, tell me if I'm right on this. It's not so much how much money you have depends on if, as a client, you listen to your designer. It's your past experience with designers, the way your current designer leads the project, and the way your current designer has built the trust that. And then there is that little personality part of a person. Give me the rub in there. Give me the mix in there that you think it is. So it's interesting because I kind of think that there's this feeling out there that once you get to luxury, that you're not going to get pushback from clients, and you're not going to get clients that say, well, what about this lamp I found? And I think I want you to tell me, I think maybe the difference is, maybe at the luxury level, they're not going to say, I found this lamp cheaper, but they still might come to you with their opinions because they're sophisticated, they have money, they've done design before, they've gotten houses put together before, and they still want to tell you that this chair is beautiful, darling, and we should have it. Is that what happens?
Well, it does, but you have to know how to manage them,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, a lot of people at the luxury level have multiple homes, and they're traveling between all of them, and they're traveling a lot, and they have a lot going on. So they don't have like a ton of time to think about, oh, well, let me go see if I can shop you for a better price. That doesn't really happen. They're coming to you because they need somebody to just take care of something for them. And they're entrusting you with something very personal, so they have to know that you know what it is they want. And if you have a voice that people can listen to, that will listen to, then they'll listen to you. So if they tell me, I want to know what kind of chair they like. I want to know what kind of room they like because I'm designing for them. I'm not living in this home. We design for people. I don't have a certain aesthetic. If you look at my portfolio, it's all over the place because
Mm,
I design for people. It's a business. If I only did black and white, I would be pigeonholed into just black and white, and I really wouldn't make the kind of living that I would want to make.
mm.
I don't know if that makes sense or not.
It
I don't
does
know.
make sense, but what I need is a little bit more for the designer that continues to get the pushback. So I think for me, I would say it comes from the beginning on how you set up the conversation, that you're the ringleader, that you're in charge, right? And that your opinion matters to me, but this isn't designed by committee, like, not, at least you're not on the committee. Like, might be a committee over here in our building, but we're not inviting you into that little teepee circle. So, but that's the thing. Like, what would you say? Say I am an interior designer. I'm sitting next to you in a room, and I'm saying, but Enrique, like, I get it, but how do I really stop this from happening? And I want to say the word stop this happening, you know, how do I, like, it's that I want the control. How do I stop this from happening? What do I have to do in setting it up with my client so that I don't find us in this spot? Eh, Right. And I was
Well,
going to say, and or get
yes.
me out of it.
Right. Well, you have to really stop and listen to what people aren't saying, right? And I try to understand, if someone is going to be like a total control freak and they're not going to let me do my job, then I walk away from it because
Okay.
that's going to be worse. That's going to be a nightmare. You're going to arm wrestle all the way to the end, and that's not fun. But if you sit down, you come at them as a professional, as you know what you're talking about, you're willing to listen to them and understand their taste, their needs, and you design an interior that speaks to them, they're going to listen to you.
Right.
It's
Right.
impossible for them not to.
Right. Okay. Okay. And so if we take it to where you said, like, it's almost like a step before that, it's in the discovery call and it's in the initial maybe consultation where you're looking for places, I would think, to both discover if they are this type of personality and also express how you're going to run the project to see if you get pushback at that point. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make perfect sense.
Okay. So how about, did you take the wrong client on one, two, five times before you started banging your head against the wall and said, stop doing this? Like, because, in the beginning, we all do it, right? We're like, okay, I can do it. I'll make it work. I'll make it work. But I find that the seasoned professional will eventually reach the point where they're just like, no, the answer is no, you're not going to be a client. So is there any story or recall of a lesson in there of making that transition?
Yes, absolutely. I've hired I mean, I've taken on projects before where people have sort of I guess I was a little greener and I thought, "Oh, I can manage this." And well, I really couldn't. because they wanted to do it themselves, and they wanted me to basically implement their design, and that's not what I'm doing here, right? This is about me designing for them. And I was working on a restaurant, and the restaurant owner's daughter-in-law was just arm wrestling me the whole time. And I just finished this one restaurant that was just fabulous. It just actually was just voted one of the most romantic restaurants by Open Table in the
Hmm.
country. And so this other restaurant that I started designing didn't turn out that well because it was like a constant fight with her. It was like, "No, you should do this. No, this is what I want to do." "Okay, well, go ahead and order your lights. They're not going to look great,
Mm.
but do it, you know?" And then and then my name's associated with that. So
Yes.
you have to think a lot of people are going to see that, and a lot of people are going to know that you did that or think that you did that. And is that good for your business? It's not.
Right. And it takes that all the way to completion and having that interpersonal experience, but also the actual product deliverable experience to say that really wasn't worth it in the end. That was a waste of everybody's time, right?
Right, right.
I mean, it's so funny because I just had a conversation today with a Window Works designer, like a designer whose work we're doing through Window Works. And, she's in the boat with a client that she just said, this is the one. She's driving me crazy. Like she just everything she said, she is the worst combination of knowing just enough to be dangerous and not enough to know what the heck she's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
and and so I was like lamenting with her. And it was so funny because if she's listening to this, she'll recognize herself. She said, okay, I'm going to ask you this question because she had a list of questions from her client. And then, Catherine looked at the list and she's like, okay, you're going to have to take this call. Right. So and she just said, okay, Lou, I'm going to ask you this question. I already know the answer, but I need your answer so that I can put this to bed. And I was like, okay, what's the question? And she goes, she wants to know that the next time that she orders the Roman shades, because she had done some Roman shades already, she wants to make sure that they look pretty from the outside and the strings aren't there. And I'm just like, and I said her name and I said, sweetie, inside voice, tell her, forget it. It's not going to happen. Roman shades don't look pretty from the outside. And if I take the strings away, it's not a Roman shade anymore. It's a freaking drape. It's just a piece of fabric hanging. Like, how do you think they're going to go up? It's like string is attached to ring, which is attached to fabric. You pull the string, the damn thing goes up. And I was like, all right, we need a nice way to say it. All right, this is why I don't do this anymore. But it's like crazy, right? It's crazy. And she said, I this personality, this is like the second time I've run into this personality. Now I will recognize it. And the next time I will not take the project. And the lady's a nice lady. Don't get me wrong. She's been a gem to our installers. As a person, she's nice with the designer, but it's like digging in on things that have absolutely, it's like, I don't know. Can I have a hamburger? And this time, no bun. I do not want any bun. I don't like hamburgers with buns. Okay. That's called a chuck beef. And we give it to you in a dinner. Like it's a different thing, lady. It's a different thing. So I don't know. You gotta get to it though, right? Where you just recognize it and you say no, right?
You do, because
Yeah.
life's too short.
There's that too. 9,000 hours spent talking about Roman shades and strings. Okay, so give me a little bit of conversation about, as a bigger business and a bigger team, have you spent time, Enrique, thinking to yourself about what your company mission is and your core values? And if you have you had occasion, or is there ways that you can talk to us about how you express them to your team and how you build them into the culture of your business? Is that something that's happening within your business?
Well, not as I would like for it to be a little more formal
Mm,
than it is. And because we've just been growing, and I have a very sort of laid back approach, but then at the same time very demanding. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm I like to be nice, but at the same time firm.
Okay.
And then in the culture of my business, I'm trying to always make my employees understand that we're a luxury firm. And while I understand what luxury is, not everybody does. So I try to expose them to more and more um, examples of what that is, right? You walk into
Mm-hmm.
Louis Vuitton. Do you see any guys without a collared shirt on? No.
Mm,
Do you see anyone slouching around being casual? No.
right.
That's not, when you walk into a Four Seasons, are they just kind of hanging out with their feet up behind the desk? No.
Cigar hanging. Hey, you want a room? Yeah, here's a key. Toss it over.
So I try to do these field trips where I take my employees so that they can understand what that luxury experience
Oh,
is.
that's cool. What kind of places have you gone? So you've gone to luxury stores and hotels. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, pretty much luxury stores and hotels so that they can experience because the interior design business has a big retail arm to it, right? So you have to have that in place.
I love it. I like that a lot, Enrique. I love that because you've mentioned it 3 or 4 times throughout the conversation. This, the relationship in your mind to conveying the luxury experience to your consumer is what I keep hearing as a theme. And then when I ask, what type of, practices or culture do you have in your own firm, it came out again. There it is again. So I think that maybe you haven't sat and really figured out, like with formality, like you said, your mission and your vision and your values, but you've got them, right? You've got them, and subconsciously this is what you're about, and this is what you've been teaching. And I think it's really cool because it is it is how we learn. It is like, if you are raised with money, then that's one thing. But if you're not raised with money, those first experiences that we have out in the world that touch on the luxury experience, they're memorable, right? They're memorable when you're like, oh my God, like, there's tablecloths and, and cloth napkins and 16 forks. Like, I just, like and so to take your team and have them observe, because it's true. You could be at, let's use the hotels, you could be at a Fairfield Inn, or I'm trying to think of a mid-level Marriott type hotel versus, all the way at the top of the food chain, a Four Seasons or whatever is at the top of their food chain. I don't even know the damn hotel. I think one hotel owns them all now anymore. You don't even know what the brands are anymore, right? But the idea is, you can have a really nice experience at that Fairfield Inn. The person can be very friendly and do their job and do it adequately and even do it above expectations. But you're right. Like the soldier posture, the formality in the language, and would you like a bottle of water after they check you in? Those are the things that are different when you check in at that top of the food chain versus someone doing a very beautiful, lovely job for you at the other level, right?
It's true. And all the extra things that come along with it, the pillow menu. There's nothing better than checking into a hotel that has a pillow menu.
I have yet to do that. I feel very, disadvantaged now. I have never been given the choice. I mean, we just stayed out for a K-Bis at the Wynn, and we stay at the Encore. I actually prefer the Encore to the Wynn. And we stay at the Encore, and that's the only thing I don't like is the pillow that is like 90 inches tall. Mr. Wynn is going to have to give a pillow menu, or maybe I just need a higher up room. I don't know. Something's got to happen.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I appreciate your conversation today so much. I know that, looking at your website, I can see that you're running a well thought out business and that you've got your process and system in place because of the type of projects that you're executing and the number of team members. I mean, it's hard to grow at that level if you don't have process and system in place. And I love that you're establishing, the priority of placing, value on quality and the experience and the luxury part of it. Because when you swim in that luxury lane, to your point, That's what the client expects. And if you don't deliver, there's another firm that can do it for them, right?
Absolutely. There
Yeah,
always is. And
that's it.
there's always a new firm moving in town too.
You're in two areas where there's a lot of interior design firms.
Yes.
So you got to stand tall and be crisp, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks so much, Enrique, for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's really been fun.
There it is. Over and over and over, right? Process and systems. We might not have a type A personality, and maybe we don't have to, but developing this type A mindset, we know this is important in order for us to run our business as well, right? And as Enrique told us, it can play a huge part in moving into that luxury lane if that's where you want to go. I love Enrique's honesty about getting started. He had an excellent education. He had a lot of talent. He had connections. He didn't say this part in our interview, but his uncle was a prolific architect who was the first to bring Cuban-inspired architecture to Miami. His collections inspired Enrique to pursue a career in art, and they continue to inspire him today in his design and his work. So he grew up around this. His family was supportive and well established. And of course, that did play a part in helping him set up for success. But the thing is, it wasn't enough. He had to do the rest. Enrique learned quickly that he needed to be organized and to get his systems in place to continue doing the creative work that he loved. We recently heard from John McClain, episode 844, and John and Enrique have much in common. They were both tremendously talented interior designers. They both happen to operate firms in Florida and LA, and they both had to learn the hard way about the difference between owning an interior design business and actually running one profitably. But that's okay, because most of us have these things in common as well. It's not just you, believe me. Right? Enrique said it himself. If you, like him, maybe you do have a degree from Savannah College of Art and Design or some other well-respected institution. But he told us he learned a lot more about the way to run his business from the School of Hard Knocks in real life and in real time. Right? You get knocked down, guess what? You get up. Enrique knows what kind of designs he wants to execute and what kind of level of service he wants to give. But he knows he also needed to get going on what he calls the type A traits, the type A mindsets to get there. So, along the way, he's invested in his company and hired people to help him. Right? You don't have to go it alone. Most of us can't go it alone. Why should you, by the way? Right? Sometimes going alone works, but if you want to be the place with a pillow menu, investing and helping you get there might get there easier, faster, more efficiently, right? There are different ways that you can go about this. And if you need help figuring out where to start, go back and listen to episode 849. This is a Power Talk Friday show with Stacey Davison. And Stacey's company handles everything but the design for you, an interior designer. This can be life-changing because you can create fantastic designs all day, but when you can pull them off and offer top-notch service, that's what keeps the phone ringing, right? Enrique invests in his business in other ways too. He has a PR team, he advertises, he has someone who handles his social media and SEO. SEO is insanely important. I just spoke with Brittany Murphy, an SEO specialist, on this podcast, episode 853. And just yesterday, if you're listening in real time, my lovely friend Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand was on Window Treatments for Profit, also talking about SEO. We will put links for both in the show notes, okay? I think this is what he means, Enrique, when he talks about this type A mindset. He means as a CEO, you are still possibly the principal designer, but you are now multitasking in different ways so that you can oversee the design as well as the finances and the marketing, right? And this takes us back to the luxury quality design group offers. I realize that a lot of design can be considered luxury, but Enrique is offering the pillow menu, right? And that's an entirely different level. You don't get there by accident, and you don't usually get there alone. He talked about how it takes his whole team, and I love the way he talked about how he continues their education on the job by also introducing them to luxury experiences and taking them on field trips for luxury experiences. He feels it is essential to see luxury in action and to understand those standards yourself and experience them so that you can then hold yourself to those standards when you are offering them to, in his case, his clients, right? I love it. I think it's a great idea. And it also sounds like they probably have a great time doing it and they probably appreciate it, right? So if you've been thinking about this, about stepping into the luxury realm and really wanting to understand what it takes to be there on top of your design chops, right? What does it take? Another good episode to listen to is episode 781 with Lori Morris, okay? She talked about how saying yes to clients kept her moving from one milestone to the next. She took saying yes to clients to the next level when working with luxury clients, balancing giving them outstanding service with giving them respect and expecting respect in return, okay? Another great episode is episode 753, where Sandra Funk talks about how to grow a thriving luxury interior design business as well. All of this is challenging, but like Enrique says, it takes listening, understanding, and handling the project with impeccable organization and authority. All right. I encourage you to go see Enrique's portfolio for yourself. You can visit it at CrespoDesignGroup.com or follow him at Crespo Design Group on Instagram. The spaces are amazing, right? They really are. But when you look at them, I want you to actually think about what him and his team are doing behind the scenes in order to create that space. You know what it takes. Now take a look at it, right? You know what it is. It's organization and it's process and it's system. And the way Enrique calls it, it's a type A mindset. All right. So thank you, Enrique, for being here with me today. I appreciate your sharing your story. I hope it was helpful to you listening. I thank you for showing up every single day. If you are listening in real time, the end of February 2023, we are getting ready for the premiere of the docuseries. I hope you are coming. Please check my link tree in Instagram. If you're on my email list, you will get the email notification. If you're in my Facebook group, LuAnn, Niagara, and Friends, you will get the notification. But we are having a live premiere watch party, and I would love for you to be there with me. It's going to be so much fun. Wait till you see what Jude Charles has created. It's pretty remarkable. All righty. Thank you so much for joining me. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Niagara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNiagara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.